So how I started in games, it's much like how everybody started in games. You play a lot of games when you're a kid, get super inspired with it, and one day you wish you would grow up and make games, play games, design games for a living. So one day I was telling this offhandedly to my mom. My mom saw one day in the newspaper where there was a university in Malaysia. Hey, software engineering and games design. Maybe you want to do that. I'm like, sure, maybe. Few years later, graduated from high school, applied for that university, got the exact same program, the same degree basically. So that's how kind of everything, it's meant to be. So wind up in that program, studied for a few years, then graduated, look, got a couple of gigs in Malaysia. And then I went traveling, the wanderlust kicks in. So I went to New Zealand, traveled there, stayed there, backpacked for half a year. I recommend everyone to be able to, who are able to, go and see New Zealand. It's beautiful. Then came back to Malaysia. I got a job to start as a QA tester in Ubisoft Singapore. So that's where I spent 6 years, 5 years in Ubisoft Singapore. And then another year with Gumi Asia. We were working on a project called Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. So it's one of the biggest revenue game that I worked on. And then I was complaining about being in Singapore and Malaysia. It's too hot. So I wanted to go somewhere colder, somewhere four seasons. I end up spending half a year in Stockholm at first. And then I got a job as a product manager in Wargaming Helsinki. Talk about asking for coal, This is how I end up being in Finland for like 7 years now. 6 years, yeah. So,
So walk me through one sec. So you went to university.
yeah.
What did you study in uni that kind of became that transferable skill to then get you into Ubisoft Singapore's QA? Or how do those two things connect from just curious. You got an education in gaming. I'm sure many are wondering, kind of just listening, like, what does that even mean? Like, what did you do?
Yeah, so it was more like a joint program that is majoring in software engineering and then minor in game design, let's say. So I was also, I think I'm the fifth or sixth batch of the program because it's new. It's being created and then it's being accepted because there is a software engineering upfront from it. So you do learn the basics of programming, graphics, software engineering stuff, coding in C++, web applications, PHP, and all that. That's more of like a rounded education in a way in software engineering. But there are also game design courses like slide into it. So you have like foundation of game design. We have an amazing lecturer who actually inspired a lot of us. Shout out to Hilmi, if he's hearing this. He started the program, and then you do game design, game programming. Then you have assignments as well. So where you start with small teams and build small projects. As you get second year and third year, it gets bigger and bigger projects. We also have like industry professionals at that time in Malaysia came and talked to us, guide us, judge what games and give us a lot of guidance as well. Yeah.
Got it. Can I ask Kenny? Can you bring the mic closer to you? I just think the levels are a little low. If it's
Sure.
closer to you.
Yeah. Maybe I'm speaking a bit softer because of the.
No, I think it's fine. Just for the mic, but no worries.
Yeah.
So going back to kind of university, before we get on to how you got to Ubisoft, what was something that stood out to you in kind of those early courses you did in kind of game design and game programming? Was there something that kind of you learned or that sparked like an interest in you? You mentioned an instructor kind of motivated you a lot, but just wondering what came out of that besides obviously instilling in you this idea of getting into games.
Yeah, I think it's one of the early courses that we did called Games Foundation. I think it was after the first class when the course, the name is Game Foundation. So they talk about games in general. But you look around, oh my gosh, this is my people who loves games, who are as much of a nerd as me, who loves games so much. And then we are talking about games. And then I knew that was the thing I'll do for the rest of my life. So that thing where you were in the situation where you're talking about something you love and you care for with everybody that has the same feeling, that's when I knew. Yep.
That's what's special. I get that. It's like when I first got my first job at EA as a junior PM, and I was in a contractor role. I remember just getting to work and just seeing everyone talk about games and like, oh, this game came out, or have you tried this? And I just felt like, wow, I'm around people that care about the same things I do, that are nerdy like me. And I just thought that was such a coming moment for me. So I completely empathize with that. So really, there's a social aspect of being able to find a community or a peer group that is as nerdy as you, that loves games as much as you, whether it's in university or outside. How did then all this translate to QA? Because you mentioned you studied programming, you mentioned you looked at game design, but then Ubisoft came around and you got this QA role. What did the QA role represent to you?
Yeah, I think it was thanks to a lot to my first job in John Galt Games. It's a Malaysian game company. Also, I got through contacts through the industry people in Malaysia that came to the uni. So that's how we kind of connected. So they hired see this face before. So they needed someone to test their games, to lead testing on their game, and also doing game design part of it. So I joined that team. I had like 5 interns to manage, and then to get the team, test the crap out of the game to get the game as high quality as possible. So I think partly because of that, also, Malaysians going to Singapore is quite easy for us because kind of a neighbor country.
Yeah, it's
So
very
and
cool.
then Ubisoft, there's someone called Srinidhi HR. She I think she's from India, and she mentioned to me she saw my name on the CV, on the application. She remembers it. And then she called me up. Hey, would you like to come over for an interview? So that's where I got all the ball rolling. I tested like a buggy version of Six Siege. No, not Siege. Rainbow Six, one of the early Rainbow Six games. So, and then you just report bugs, what do you find, and all that. And then they say, oh, they liked it and they liked my character. Oh, would you like to have a job here in Singapore? I'm like, yeah, why not? So that's how I got started. And then my role kind of evolved in Singapore for 5 years from QA to senior QA to project coordinator to live ops manager per se, monetization manager. And then I was working also another project manager role that time before I left Ubisoft. Yeah.
How important is the QA role for people trying to break into games? Like you look at community management, obviously QA, sometimes marketing roles or perhaps user researcher roles, but these roles often allow someone who wants to break into a larger company to start in QA and maybe kind of get their foot in the industry, understand how the processes work. I'm wondering for you, um, how important was it for you to do QA to learn everything that you know, and what would you recommend to others who are looking for a way in, and especially in terms of QA and whether they'd like to proceed with a career path like that?
I think it's one of the best role to break into the game industry because you start from ground up because you know nothing about developing games, right? Okay, maybe you studied a little bit, you know a little bit, but how the pros do it, how a big company does it, you have no idea the process. You have no idea how the pipeline is from start to finish. So as a QA, you actually get to see at first like see the result they have at the moment, and then you see the flaws, then they report bugs. But you also learn how to report bugs. Not to say like you don't just say, oh, there's something wrong with this, but you have to explain, you have to learn the skill. So how to explain to a developer that is coding the game or made the bug, for example, or the art, what is it? You need to learn how to articulate your words well and also write it clearly. So your bug reports will be high in quality, where you don't need to go, the developer will not need to come and ask you 3, 4 times, what do you mean? So if you write it very clearly, they exactly read it and know exactly what it is and it solve a problem. So that's the most efficient way. And you learn from producers, you learn from your other QA, you get to interact with everybody basically because everybody creates bugs. Well, not producers, but like developers, artists, sound engineer, or audio designers, everybody creates bugs. So you get to interact with them, you get to learn with them, you get to talk to them, and also see what do they actually do. So that's a fantastic way to get an all-round view. That's why it's no surprise that a lot of producers come from QA background as well, because they know from the tail end how to have the main quality before it's a go for the build, for example. Then QA is the build, and then producers are the one that sign off the build. Okay, we are good. Launch. So they kind of work hand in hand.
Yeah, man, I completely agree. I have so many producers that I've met that started through QA, and it's a shame because I've spoken to other friends who are like, "Oh, would you get into gaming industry? There's a QA role," and I think people from the outside look at it like, "Oh, it's QA. That's just like checking bugs." But I don't think you realize the opportunity that you have to just be influenced and to see everything that's happening and to speak with the people. And you can always gear up away from QA, or you can specialize in QA. There's nothing wrong with the role itself, but it is such an entryway for people looking to break into games. So let's
Yeah,
keep on with the timeline, though, getting back to where we were.
sure.
QA tester in Ubisoft, and then you started proceeding towards a product manager direction, right? Production product
Yeah, that's
as
right.
you started scaling up.
Yeah, because as the game goes from development stage, and then it goes to alpha stage, and then it goes to it's a multiplayer online game. So Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Phantoms. So it's
Yeah.
still I have so much fond memories with the team members that worked on it. So I think about on our floor with me we have 50 to 100 people. So everybody was super close. Um, as the game evolved from development, testing, and it goes live, you will see where the development bulk of the development team start in bulk of the team is from the development side, and then they slowly move on to a more live side. So you see the operations and live game team people are forming team. Yeah. So then there's a need to also like from development side moving towards live side and live service, you're operating, you build more content, there's more content to test, there's monetization is important now, retention, numbers, KPIs, marketing, and more live content, not only development content and so forth. So as the game evolved this path, my role also evolved according to that path. And I have fantastic managers as well. They saw me, hey, Kenny, we like your style. You should come and help on this. So yeah, so I also get my first foot on, do well, um, work along with people well, get along with people, and people like you, and then you work hard, have a high quality of like standard as well, and then slowly things fall into place. So we work a little quite hard, I would say, because we have a lot of heart and soul into the game. Let's say, yeah.
You mentioned that your managers liked your style, and you also said that like you had a high degree of quality. What are other things that kind of made your style stand out? Like if someone's listening and being like, "Oh, Kenny, he's on such a course of a great career," what made him stand out, or what made him successful? Like how would you explain that in terms of your personal style?
I think you got to care. I would say, if you care enough, then you will move push yourself to have a higher standard in that sense, and um, keep on the positivity. Like life work is not so easy, but you can keep a positive outlook on things. Like I always say, like work itself is not easy, but why don't we make it easier for each other? So have that positive outlook, care, find a project that you care, and then slowly you have a reason, and then you will perform, I would say.
That makes a lot of sense. I like how you mentioned caring because I think in games, because there are often so many issues that you have to deal with, and there's a lot of pressure, there's crunch. Um, I think having that love for what you're doing, or love for the game, or love for the players that you are delivering to, kind of makes you kind of push through in hard moments. And like I find for myself personally, that's helped me a lot. as I kind of go through my career. But were there any hard moments that kind of you had to like reassess and like, okay, I encountered this difficulty or this issue, and I had to learn and grow from it as someone who grew from QA to kind of a more leadership role in product management and et cetera? Like, what were those areas of growth or moments that you had to take a step back and be like, I have to be better at this?
I think for me, it's not any particular moment, but it seems a bit more natural for me to grow. As you work long enough on a certain role, you get very comfortable. And then at the same time, you need to have curiosity as well of where your trajectory or career is going and see opportunities, talk to your managers. They are nice people generally, you know. So talk to people, see what's your ambition are, see where you want to go, and ask. Like, hey, I would like to become a producer. How do I do that? So I'm doing QA
Tell
now.
me more about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me more about the asking part because I don't think people do that enough. I think especially in terms of getting opportunities like fresh, like coming out of uni and cold writing emails to people or maybe hitting them up on LinkedIn or whatever it may be. It's that asking part, which I think a lot of people just shy away from, or they wait for the opportunity to arrive rather than maybe to, go out there proactively and look for it. How did you ask for the things that you wanted in your career, and
Yeah,
how
I
did that
think you
work for
have to
you?
take some risk. Also, like depending on your managers, it's up to you also your interpersonal skills, to see who to ask, what to ask. It's not like, hey, I want to be a producer, give me the job next year. It's more like, hey, if you're doing well, capitalize on that. Having a performance review, that's where you actually can mention, hey, yeah, or what's my future. If they don't ask you, some good performance reviews, they will ask like, one part at the end, what's your ambition? How do you see yourself grow and all that. So that's where you come in and push your own agenda. If you need to spend time to think about it. Like, hey, I would like to be a producer. I would like to senior producer. I would like to be a creative director one day. So what are the steps that I can go? And then talk to the seniors, talk to the managers and ask because they have seen more than us. So they will know more. So I would say just plan, come prepared, think about where you want to go, why you want to go, have a bit of thought, deep thought into it, and then don't be afraid to just approach. Don't be afraid of just be where you are because nobody stands still. If you're having a job as a QA, if you're having a job as a game designer, you want to be a creative director, it's only natural when you work long enough in a role, you will naturally want to progress. When you want to progress, your role has to go higher and higher and higher, responsibility and skill wise. It will grow naturally. But you have to also frame it and put in your mind that, hey, I'm a game designer now. 20 years later, I will still be a junior game designer. No way, because you learn and you grow, and then there's a need for your skills as well. Different roles and higher levels for making a game, for example. So
So
so you just ask. So like plan it, ask the right people.
So it's kind of like you're looking for mentorship in a way because you're looking for people that say, "Hey, I want to be a creative director. What are the steps I need to get to that point? Or what am I doing well and what am I not doing right now?" And then the second is like you need to almost create like a quest or a mission or a
Yeah.
story that is like, this is where I am. These are the things I need to do to get here. And because I love the journey and what I'm doing, I'll get there eventually as long as I have the people helping me out, realizing I'm working towards this goal. And then having the right steps in your mental to know where to go, I think is super important. And I think that's how a lot of people kind of grow in their careers and move ahead, asking for help, and then again planning for those steps in your head and making sure that you're going through with them and that in a review meeting or something like that, that stuff's covered. So
Yeah. Yeah. Do your research, go to LinkedIn, look at your idols, how they get to be where they are, read about their story. Everybody starts from a humble beginning. Um, they start off knowing nothing and then keep going, and then this is where I want to go. And if you ask one of your manager who, let's say, didn't have a lot of time for you, ask 10, 20. right now you have resources, right? And then you can ask for mentorship as well. Just cold call, send somebody. Because I realized a lot of us, including myself, like when you have a lot of experience, you also want to see it not go to waste or being used by helping other people. Not everybody, but I think a lot of us do. So just
Yeah.
ask. You never know, a lending hand will just round the corner.
You wanna share that stuff. I love that. That's also kind of why I'm here. I think that's why we're talking here together. Like we've learned quite a bit. Like we're still on our paths, but it's something that you want to share because we both know what it was like in uni or out of uni, trying to figure out a role into the games industry, not being sure of where you're going next, but sticking to a path and just getting better every day. Um, I want to pivot now because we've talked a
Sure.
lot about university, kind of your role in Bethesda, and maybe there's some cool game stories that we can talk about later. But you mentioned a lot when we first spoke about traveling and like how travel's
Yeah.
kind of like influenced and you grew your network, but B, you got to speak to so many different people and learn and just, you got out there. How did traveling kind of help you become a better designer, PM, game industry person, expert, however you want to call it? How did traveling help?
Yeah. So traveling is one of my, I would say maybe my number one top five passion in the world. That I want to see more different cultures, meet more different people, learning how people, what they eat. Coming from Malaysia, a big foodie. Um, every culture have their own tradition, their different kind of food, their different kind of style, and they make different kind of games, and the way they play are also different. So I like to see the world, not just staying in one country per se. So, what's best by every time like to see a country where it's not much news on the main media. That's where I'm most curious. So, for
Mm.
example, right now I'm most currently interested in Central Asia because nobody talks about it much, and all you want to go and see what's the game scene there. And me being a game person, I would like to go and meet my people. Everywhere in the world, every major cities, I believe, have people who loves games and are making games. So go and reach out to them. So what I did was when I went to Buenos Aires, I think it was 6, 7 years ago, when a couple of my friends got married. I know them back in my backpacking days in New Zealand. So they invited me to go to a wedding. So I went to Buenos Aires. So, of course, naturally on Facebook, I try to hit up the game developers in Buenos Aires. So, and they were super nice. This guy, I remember his name now, Luciano. So he was super nice. So he's like, hey, would you like to come and talk to us? Because I was working at Ubisoft and I was working with Gumi Asia at that time. After that, so they want to know my experience. So I just sit down, sharing like with you right now, and then just talk to games people, and then they are very welcoming because like I was saying before, what do we like? We like games, we like movies, we like TV series. So all these are like pretty much animes as well, right? So all these are our common topic of game developers. So you go there, you talk about this topic, and then you just connect with people. Like, oh, you like this game too? Oh, you like Full Metal Alchemist as well? Oh, yeah, I know. Then you start talking about shows, you start talking about, yeah,
Yeah.
anime, you start talking about games. Well, this game is super solid, or this movie at that part, I don't want to spoil the ending. It was like, you start this kind of conversation with games people. So that's where I hang out. They had a meetup, so I hang out with them. And then the crazy story I want to share about is when I think it was somewhere in August, July, August, summer. So we were hanging out in a bar, chatting with everyone, and then they're like, "Hey, would you like to go to underground game scene?" I'm like, "What? What's that?" Okay, sure, let's go. What's the worst could happen? Games people, right? So we went to like a
Yeah.
row of shops, like it's closed. Everything is like grilled shut, and then somebody opened it, and then you walk in, and then it looks a bit like, hey, hear music, and then you pay like I think it was 20 pesos or something. They give you a lollipop, a normal lollipop, and then you go walk in. It was dark, and then you see there's a there's a console, kind of like Atari, but I don't think so. It's modified custom console with like 4 controllers, and just go there, stand and play. Custom console, custom games, party games. And then everybody
Wow.
just take turns and play, and then you see smoke around. Everybody like, hey, you want to try? Sure. Then you just play. That's it. You just
It's like an
play.
underground arcade.
Yeah, exactly. Underground arcade. And then I hear music coming out from the next side of the shop area. Then I walked in, and then people were like, there's 2 guys. I remember one guy with long hair. He had a Game Boy Advance, and then he was playing music like a DJ on the Game Boy Advance. And then everybody like dancing to the music with laser lights and all that. I'm like,
Wait, so he was playing it with the Game Boy? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like he was controlling the MP3 like a DJ, or was he making music with the Game Boy?
He has like multiple Game Boy Advance, like at least 2 Game Boy Advance. It's like a DJ, like holding his hands, like like making
That's
those
crazy.
sound. I wish I took a picture at the time, you know. So
Yeah.
everybody was like having good time, dancing to like music, and then here is playing custom console games, and then I end up hanging out there until like in the morning. Don't feel tired at all for some reason. So it was like super nice. So that was like a nice story. And then I've also seen or heard at least there are a few group of people who goes and rent like certain places or mansion, and then throw a party, and people come and just play games. So
That's
custom games.
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, what does that tell you about like that there are these underground game scenes that probably 99% of people don't even know? Like, what does that tell you about like the games industry or just like people in general? Like, I imagine it made you feel very good about it, like just seeing it and being there.
Yeah, I think like you can't stop play. That's very human. You know, we learn by playing and we enjoy playing. Games play can be many form. If arguably it's like all things you play are games in a way. Physical, digital, or human games. So I don't think you can stop play. So it can also not stop human creativity. So there's always be creative ways to play. So this is just one form is manifested in humans, for example. Yeah.
And it sounds a bit like a rebellious culture because if you think of like gaming nowadays, it's like buy our game digitally, play it on our official platform, play it on the console that you have at home. But here it sounds like they just cracked a bunch of devices,
Yeah.
found like an underground lair to like throw a party or a meetup, and they're just. I think there's a sense of liberty that I get from your story. Imagine some kind of cyberpunk alternative future where everyone's just kind of like playing their own games. Maybe this is a prequel to like some Ready Player One future where people have their own game consoles that are hooked up to AI. I don't want to get my crazy hat on, but it just sounds really cool. It's like those things that you just don't hear enough about that you think is more fiction than reality.
Yeah. If you think about it, that's how games kind of started, where like everybody is just make their own games, you know. You don't need a permission to make games. So
Yeah.
you just go and make it. So with whatever tools you have. Nowadays we have more advanced tools, of course. But it all started there. Then everybody started making games before it went mainstream. And then when it actually make a lot of headway, it's making actually possible to make a lot of money. That's where the big business comes in, the corporate comes in, which is not a bad thing, of course. Make it mainstream, accessible to more and more people. Looking at it, it all started like that. So even now, I believe there are a lot. Although the industry now is not in a great shape, but a lot of indies are like this is where we can push our creative vision or freedom and make something new. It might suck, it might not, you know, just make 100, pretty sure at least one will be very new, very good. So this is what I'm trying myself as well. Make something new, something fresh. Go back to our roots, basically making games before the first person shooter came out. So that's how it's been created. Not to say it's easy to create a new genre, but more like, hey, can you make something good? Can you make something maybe a bit more unique? It might inspire another game to be even more unique and so forth and snowball up to maybe we can have something new again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I see it kind of like a split. There are people that build their own games, and I think that's an amazing thing to do. Although incredibly difficult, it's a worthwhile venture. And then you also have like these growing communities, and this has been around since like the early days of Quake. But you have these modders, these plugin creators, people who take a game and add more to it. I don't know if you've seen like the role play community in GTA, or maybe you
Mm-hmm.
look at games like RuneScape that have this incredible like plugin community that just build extra features on top of the game that just enables it even further. And that's something that like in my career and in my experience, just observing, like it's amazing to see the passion that goes behind people that love a game so much. It's become kind of one of their favorite pastimes, one of their passions to make better. They're embedded in the community. And so they spend their time making it better for the joy of others, but also for the technical challenge themselves. And that's kind of where I see the split between you have the game developers and kind of the people in the community that add on to the games themselves. And always try to think like, where is the future heading? Like, are these community of modders and developers and plugin creators, are they gonna potentially overpower these studios that we have today because tools are becoming more accessible? People have more access to Lua. Um, it's like this army. Like, how do you compete with an army of super passionate people? But yeah, it is an incredible thing to hear, and I'm
Yeah.
just fascinated by it in general.
Yeah. I think for the future, like there will always be people who want to make something new, something indie, something rebellious, something fresh. But it will take a while where let's say the business side or monetization side come in, where it becomes really profitable. Like a lot of us are more like, I won't say I'm claiming I'm one, but maybe part of me. Like if you're an artist, you know what you do for the sake of the art. So you make games for the sake of play, for gaming. You don't sometimes they don't even think about, will I make a million bucks from a game, It'll be nice to have, but if you look around, a lot of people are more like the more authentic game developers. They tend to more want to make something new, something original. So there will always be like that, but not to take away from people who make a living from corporate and do well. All the power to that. So I'm just saying that there will always be like more indie folks. I would say more original, creative thinking people who make games.
So then on that note, we've talked about offline. You've made
Right.
your own games with even friends. How was that process of building your own game?
Yeah. So it's actually with two of my uni friends. One uni friend, another artist who is actually my first company's ex-colleague. So we all three know each other. So it was when I was working in Ubisoft Singapore, and then he was like, "Hey, would you want to make a project, a small game for mobile? Would you like to jump in and help us?" I'm like, "Sure." So because trust is already there because we know each other quite well. In fact, my uni friend, that friend is actually in Finland actually, with me as well. So we wanted to make a small game. It took us about 7 months to make a game called Safari Chess. It's on mobile, Android, and iOS. Run purely on free to play, just purely just ads, no monetization as well. So we just made it, and let's see how that goes. Multiplayer chess game. Our audience is more like Hong Kong, China kind of audience, and we have recurring revenue for almost like 7 years. So it's not a big amount. Uh, I think it's respectable as well. So we just made it and then let it run, and then you just generate revenue from ads.
How do you even choose a game like that? Like, you obviously have like, if we have to put our product management hats on,
Mm.
we'd have to look at, okay, who are the competitors in the market? How successful are these games? What are our capabilities internally? Like, was there any of this thinking strategically before you got into actually building the game, or did you kind of look at it and say, that would be fun to build, let's build it?
Yeah, none of the KPIs, product manager, marketing thinking at all. So we just wanted to make something small and try out whether can we make a game, can we finish a game, and we just let's pick this game. My friend is the one that picked it, and he likes this game. We can, in terms of practicality wise, we can finish it within a short time, with less than a year. So we know we can do that. That's the main criteria. So once we finish that, we just release it. No, we of course did a couple updates like replay systems and all that after that. But there's no such thing as like, oh, what's the target market like? What's the KPI? We just released it. And then, what do you know? Every other month or so, there's a game that clones our game, but didn't do as well. They all die off after that because they saw our game was quite popular in a way. I think it's about also you building a game with experience, how you use the player's game experience in it. So I think it already be tight controls. Everything will be very smooth, no crashes. It's built on SDL, one of the old, I think C language. So it's highly compatible and super lightweight as well. So just build it. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, so I was gonna ask, what were some lessons that if someone listening is thinking of making their own game? Like, what would you kind of recommend as some like tips for? Like, I wouldn't even know where to start if I had to build my own independent game. Like, what is that process like? Like, what did you learn?
Even me now, I was thinking of that as well. Like, start something small. I will always say start something small, where you can ship it, where you think within, let's say, you can prototype it within a month or two, and then within 6 months, that scale of a game, which is definitely not an MMO, for example. So ship a small game within 6 months, maybe a top-down shooter, maybe a simple first-person shooter kind of game, and see how far it goes. As your skill goes better and better, then or you actually find people to work with that you trust, that you will want to have the same vision to make a game, and grinding it through and then make it into completion. So that's another challenge, and then release it. So always think of shipping as much as possible. I'm saying this as well. I'm reminding myself as well. So keep your scope small, and then you can ship within 6 months to a year, and then also do a little bit of research, what kind of games there are out there similar, of course, and also something that you like. Don't build something that you don't like, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, particularly we talked about the fact that if you don't need anyone's permission to build a game, right? That's kind of the beautiful part about it. You can just do it. And at the same time, I think for a lot of people listening, maybe in their 20s, who are looking for, I mean, your 20s are about just like exploring and trying new things. And if you love games and you'd love potentially a career in games, or you're looking to break in or understand it better, there's no better time to really try and build a game, because at the end of the day, games, the resource you need is time and effort. So what did that kind of teach you when you were making it? Like this idea that you don't have to ask anyone for permission, so you're empowered to just do it, and you have all the tools you need to do it oftentimes. And then B, that it's just time and effort. And I think what you get out of it is even more greater than kind of the sum that went into it at the start.
Yeah, like no one can stop you. You can just go and build it. Exactly, like complementing what you said. You don't need to ask anybody's permission. Can I make a game? You can just go and make it. Nobody's stopping you. So I think it's how much you want it, and then fill your day around like with content that people has done it before. Talk to people. YouTube. I have my YouTube feed as well. But Thomas Brush, a bunch of he's interviewing a bunch of indie developers as well. There are other YouTubers also, other developers that share even their revenue numbers on YouTube. Go and fill with all that so you have an idea roughly what to expect. Of course, no, but not everybody is going to be a millionaire. Actually, quite small portion actually. So you got to know what you're getting yourself into, and you're right. No one is stopping you. No one. You don't need to ask anyone's permission, and just go ahead.
Honestly, I think that's such important advice, because often you think, I want to do this for the money. I'm gonna make millions. I see all these mobile games just absolutely crushing it on the different app stores, blah blah blah. At the end of the day, you got to start with the passion and wanting to learn, and then maybe along that path you'll get to the point where you can make a lot of money out of it. But I think the people who are most successful always start with just one goal, which is to make a game, and hopefully it'll be fun for others. and not so much about I'm going to make a game so it could be revenue worthy or profitable. Like I think there you get into a point where you see a lot of YouTube channels about it where they make a game and they track. That's why I kind of asked you that product manager question, which is like the
Yeah.
KPIs and everything. Because I've seen YouTube channels of people saying like, this is what you need to do, take a competitor, copy it, track the KPIs, put in the SEO and the marketing, and you use these practices, which sometimes are anti play because they just do some weird dark tactics with like how they get people to pay for things. But I think the true kind of the great part about it is just to make games for the sake of making games, for the sake of passion and community and fun, and seeing where that takes you.
Yeah. So like the product manager side of things, looking at KPIs, numbers, it works, you know. It's a whole, respectable discipline. I was one as well. So it's not that it doesn't work. It works. So we are talking about two things here. One is like pursuing your own interest, making your own game as a hobby and hopefully make it good, you can commercialize it. Another path is like find a job working in games, which is also another respectable way, is where you learn so many things. You also are in the same field, industry. You also have a lot of same people, which is so nice. So work become less like a chore in a way. It's more like you look for it because no matter what, I'm looking at my career also, like not every game is my game, my alone game, only one. But I work on other games, but I have passion for games in general. I want to make the game good. And one, it just popped up in my mind that my ex QA manager, Ben Buffy, back in Singapore, he said, I even made a t shirt with the slogan on it: QA, we make games, suck less. So
I
I
love that.
just popped out in my mind because we kind of control the quality, right? Make sure it's good. So you may not be able to design the game and make it a fun experience, but you are a QA guy, so you make sure all the bugs are captured as much as possible so players have a good experience, right? So the game will suck less, in a way.
Man, it's so important. Like I want us to go. We can go back into the QA stuff, but like
Yeah, sure.
genuinely, like being able to just um envision. I think a really good person who works in QA has to have a good understanding of who the player is, how they would approach the game, but also like through different personas. So they're going to be different types of players trying a certain level. And some person may go linearly down the path and do exactly what they're told. Another person may go out and look for Easter eggs and just go on different tangents. Another may just do things completely wrong and just try to do something weird, like try to only kill people with a grenade instead of shooting someone
Yeah.
with a pistol. Like people are weird, people are chaotic. They will do, at least in my experience, kind of building games or working for companies and helping develop games, people will do the things that you least expect. And I think the skill in a QA person or a QA professional is to be able to understand that and then test a level or test a piece of content, not just by the acceptance criteria, which is like, again, the criteria that makes something work or that makes a piece of work correctly function, but also just to be able to predict how things can go wrong. And like having those people are indispensable to like any games team because they will just make it suck less, like you say.
Yeah, and also one thing also that remind me when I was working as QA with my team members, there's also certain people that have certain affinity to certain type of testing. For example, some people like this QA tester loves UI. He gets along with the UI team, so he tests their UI really well because he loves UI, pressing buttons and stuff. And then there's another guy who actually loves to break the game. He actually uses a cheat engine. It's called cheat engine and try to hack the game. So he end up getting a job later on as like a security side of software development for games. So he likes those stuff. Like I like unique gameplay. How can I bend the rules? And then some QA also like systems. What if I just put so much armor in me that I become almost invulnerable? So there's a different types of people that test as well, the affinity. So the more testing you do across multiple people, a style of QA testers, you will be able to find more stuff. So even testing itself is quite diverse and quite deep in terms of that discipline.
It's super deep. It's super important because if you don't test something properly, then if you're in a live service game, you gotta roll it back and it's a whole host of issues. So live service is an issue, but even like with games that you ship, you got to patch it up. Players run into issues. It goes on socials. Like the armor one you brought up, like that could be game breaking. Like that could just
Yeah.
be that automatically I put as much armor as I can. Maybe I do 5 attack damage, but I have 1,000 armor, and now like my invulnerability is like at 99%. So I can defeat any boss in the game because my damage output and damage absorption is higher than the damage that they're doing to me, and that's because I put all the armor. But maybe the game designers didn't consider it. But if you don't have that person who tries to break it, the cost is often having to go back and fix it, which is higher than if you had just taken a bit more time, maybe with the resource, with the people to check over the game.
Yeah, and one of the fond memories of testing the game, I remember when we have a technical test wide, company-wide, let's say about 200 people playing the game, different servers, 8v8. There's one bug that made one character invisible in a multiplayer game, and he went out just killing everyone. Then you see like dead. You know, this is the fun part of game development people don't usually talk about because there's a lot of bugs when you're developing the game. So one guy is like just start killing, and then some people were like pissed off, stood up like, who the hell is this guy? You know, show yourself. He just quietly just start killing everyone. You see everyone got pissed off, you know. So things like that is the one that makes it super fun. And then we share these kind of stories with each other, I would say, in development. Yeah.
So do you have any fun stories of exploits from other games that maybe the audience might know? Like, are there any like crazy bugs that almost made it through, or just like things that you've had to stop or you've observed? You've worked on so many different types of games, so curious, is there anything that I'd know or that the audience might know?
I think one of the most complex game that bug we were trying to solve was from Ghost Recon, where there was a grenade bug. It somehow actually explodes, and then the camera just go haywire. So I remember spending nights, like a few nights in a row with the game developer, the game programmer, to try to figure out why is it when you throw it like that, it happens. And one in worst bug to solve is 1 in 100, for example. It only happens every 100 times you try it only once. So, and then you work alongside with the developers. That's why QA is so important. Because imagine you're a programmer, right? You have to guess the fix that you're trying to do, and then you need to be tested. So if he does both, it will take him like 10 times longer. But if there's a QA there to help to solve, okay, I will just repeat this, commit your code, run the build, make the build, and try it. You know? So, and then if one person tests it, right, you will also always try mostly in like 2-3 different ways. But as a professional QA tester, he can just think of it in 10 different ways to test the game. Because he is the professional in testing. And then he runs stuff, and then I'm going to throw it like this, I'm going to throw it like this, I'm going to throw it like this. Whereas you are the developer, you are more biased to how you think your fix is. You will try to test different way. So that's why you need to have a strong QA background to partner. A strong QA basically is a very good partner, I would say, for development.
100%. We didn't talk about, like you brought it up. We didn't talk about being able to reproduce a bug. That like 1 in 100, where if you aim the camera at this velocity, at this angle, in this way, it only creates the bug in that precise moment. I don't think people realize that often. People just assume, there's a bug, go into the log, find that bit of code, like naively, and then you can recreate it. But like, no, you actually have to get into the engine, get into that exact moment, and then try to find it. And hopefully you're recording it or you're doing something to at least know what's happening. And I think that is just not spoken enough about. How about, look, if you're working with QA people, like what makes their jobs easier? Like how can you help QA professionals do the best they can? As someone that works in product, perhaps is working across from them and kind of maybe potentially organizing the code that they'll check, what are some tips to just work better with QA?
I would say from a production and product side, make sure you have enough time for QA to test. Although QA is normally at the end of the process, well, a lot of it is in the middle as well, to embed it together in a Scrum team, partner with developers as the build is being made incrementally. A lot of times it's like, okay, we have 1 week to release this feature. We have last 2 hours on a Friday is for QA. What if they found something breaking that, it takes a lot of time. So always buffer enough time for QA as much as possible. It's very easy to overlook QA's importance on the end of development because developers always want more time. As a producer, production side, make sure you have enough time. It's non-negotiable, so that you can be very certain that when your build or your product or your game that is out will be as highest quality as possible. Because if you do a live game, for example, where people find exploits, uh, make you lose money on your monetization side, that one it could make or break the game basically.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move a bit.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about your good guy monetization story. So like, what does it mean to monetize so context, as a product manager, we often find ourselves in a situation, and this also came up in my first episode of the podcast with Rue, which was really, how do we balance the responsibility of making money for the business or the game, and which means taking decisions that help finance the rest of the team and make the game successful, but also do that in a way that kind of keeps it fun, that balances it with what players are expecting or what players deserve. And when we spoke before the podcast, there was this idea of being a good guy monetizer. So I just wanted to kind of ask you, like, what's your story around that? How do you approach monetization as a product production person?
Yeah, first and foremost, I was a game player before I was a game developer. So we come from that side, from the player side point of view. Of course, game is a business, so we need to make money. But we are selling entertainment, we're selling enjoyment for the players. So in a way, I said it in a way that it's good guy monetization, because you need to monetize in a good way that gives the player what they want. So not giving them what they do not need per se, and upsell and keep upselling them. So there are many types of players. Like, for example, if the person wants to buy a microwave, you don't go, hey, here's a microwave. Wait, there's more. With just this, you're gonna have a bag that comes with it. Oh, with that, you get more. So some players just want that thing. Or progression wise, in some ways, do not stretch it too far out. Let the player have the progression that they enjoy, and then sell it to them the items or the experience that they want in that kind of a controlled manner. Because I think that's the best way to retain players. So when players come in, they want to have a good time. For example, you want to sell a bundle that gives the player some boost. Let's say it's $5, $4.99. You don't let the player just use it within 2 seconds and then finished. And then their enjoyment lasts only like maybe 5 seconds or 10 seconds. So I would say try to see what they actually want. Try to guide them if they buy, and then they will speed up the progression in a slightly longer term, not just in like 10 seconds, maybe a day. So when they find buy a $4.99 thing, they know they will have a good time doing the experience in a day, for example. So give the player what they want. No need to go for those more addictive style of monetization. But also, it's a fine balance also to actually try to hit the business goals, and make sure the business goals and what you want to try to hit, like monthly revenue, is reasonable. And then, of course, try to reach it in a good way.
Yeah, I think there's almost an agreement between players and developers where, like, we're willing to pay for things, but we really hope that the service is fair. We understand that you guys need to make money, and often, like, we're paying, basically we're putting real life money behind pixels. Like, you could be buying a skin on League of Legends, but you don't want to feel exploited in that process. And I think the exploitation in the past, like Star Wars Battlefront and all these things, where you could just tell that you're trying to, in a way, like the idea that people who are paying are getting these battle boxes that then allow them to just tear through multiplayer and be super overpowered and go up in levels. Like, that feels exploitative, not because of the person making the purchase, but of everyone else who's trying to play normally. And I think that's where games over the past decade, we've had to kind of readjust this model. Not to say that all loot boxes are bad. I think loot boxes could be very fun and they could be potentially very ethical. It's just that a lot of bad actors out there have just done a big disservice by trying to be exploitative, when in reality you're just trying to offer some value. You're trying to offer some fun.
Yeah, I think it's always personal opinion wise, we have to go through that phase so we know. Because
Yeah,
if there's a way to exploit, people will exploit. Maybe me included. You know, if I find something new, I will probably exploit it. Well,
of
I was a
course.
QA, so I will exploit game systems as well. So it's normal. So we have to go through it as, you know, as a phase. And then now we know better. We don't do that anymore. So it's in the past. So now how can we move forward and give more value as consumers, game players also become more educated, more smarter choice. Game developers become more ethical, you know, make games the better way, I would say, not the preying on your addiction kind of style. So yeah, I think we are moving forward as a whole because you don't see a lot more like a super pay to win game so much anymore. Um, yeah, so everything is moving towards more player-centric experience because ultimately, if you retain players and give the players a good experience, that's how you win.
100%.
Mhm.
100%. I think I kind of want to ask this just because I've been reading a lot about AI. Where do you think the future of games is heading? Based on kind of the people you've spoken to, I'm sure you've been around the world. You've talked to a bunch of different developers and probably chatted about ideas, and even in general, just working in AAA studios. Where is AI heading, and how is it going to change games in the future for you?
I think I've been dabbling a little bit with some AI tools, making some cool videos on my doggy on Instagram, generating some 2D pictures, and then generating from the 2D pictures to 3D models, which is importable into game engines and directly use it. So I think that's the main pipeline that I've tested it out. I would say to make something small for indie or mid-sized teams, wanting to show something quickly, something moving in the screen to show, let's say, a new concept, a new story, or able to choose things fast, even like free assets. You can download free assets from so many resources. So AI helps to push that boundary faster, way faster, but you still need the person, a human, to control it. You cannot just ask AI, hey, make me an awesome game that I like, that is unique.
Yeah,
You know, it can't do that. So it's still people that do that. People tell the story, people make the gameplay. But everything else, more redundant stuff like maybe debugging or generating the same skin, 50 more of that. And then you human go and choose which one is nice. So you choose like 10. So all this actually speeds up and enhances the developer a lot more. But at the same time, also worrying where they say it will take a lot of junior jobs, but I would say maybe not. Maybe everyone needs to learn a little bit of AI technology, how it is, and then use it, of course, ethically. You know, use the proper AIs that is not like stealing stuff from the internet. Um, Also, if you make something small and demo, normally I would think that when it comes to production side, that's where you can scrap all your AI stuff. You need to build it authentically build it. So AI is just a way to speed up your prototype or demo level, and then also maybe when you make something, it enhances your work. Like you have to make something first. Like you make a
yeah.
concept art, for example, of this scene. Can you generate like 10 different types? Just generate with blue, green, red. And then the artist itself can see it. I think I like this feel more. So that person will actually go and redo it in his own view, an artistic view. So I think that is
I
where AI will be used.
I swear I've done exactly that. I did that this week actually. I'm putting together some tickets for some work, and usually when I'm putting together a ticket and I'm trying to define a problem or potentially a solution in my mind, and I'm putting down the acceptance criteria, I'll try to draw something on Paint. Like I'll draw a concept, like even if
Yeah.
it's just like an interface, I'll just like literally just draw boxes, or maybe I'll take a screenshot and draw arrows. And this time, I literally just asked ChatGPT, GPT-5, I'm like, can you generate an image of what I'm describing to you in the ticket based on this? And I give it like an example of whatever kind of scene I'm setting or whatever interface I'm trying to build. And it generates a pretty good, it does a pretty good job. Like it just kind of showed me like an example of how this could look. Obviously, it's always quite uncanny. It's always quite like it's missing something. But I think if you can get really good at like saying, I want to build this type of prototype or I want to do this type of interface, and you need it to match the aesthetic of the game, I think that is a really powerful tool to just kind of communicate your vision to people. So that's the first thing I thought when I was listening to it. Absolutely, it's a tool to get your ideas across. And second, I'm just wondering with you brought up the fact that to make a great game, it's like to write a great movie. I don't think AI will necessarily be able to do that. They may take the structure or they may kind of come up with some idea for what could be something great that other humans would love. But I still think it needs that human element. Like all those people in those underground kind of rave caves of gaming in Buenos Aires. Like this is gaming is an intersection of movies, of entertainment, of music. And in order for that to like feel real, to feel proper, like you need like actual human soul and emotion to bring that stuff together. I don't think an AI can just generate a great game.
Yeah.
So I thought those were two really good points that you made, but I agree with everything else as well.
Yeah, when you make a game, right? A game is consists of many things like animation, 3D models, VFX, game design, systems, rules, game controls. Some tail end of those stuff, AI can help enhance. For example, when you win, okay, there's a congratulatory screen, let's say. I want a confetti. You can ask AI, can you generate a VFX that makes confetti? Sure, boom, there you go. And how difficult and how generic the confetti is, it's enough. But you want to make a character that has soul, maybe you need a bit more than that. So there's
100%,
stuff the AI can do, the small stuff they can pick up and help enhance it, especially for small teams developers. I hope the big corporate companies are using it ethically. You know, you never know, because let's say they are building based on their own library of pictures, and then they want to generate that. Then that is also their original IP. So, who am I to say that they shouldn't use that?
Oh, it is a wild west out there.
Yeah,
It is beyond my pay grade to speculate really what's going to happen.
Same.
But you're not really entirely sure. But at the same time, it's exciting. I think it's going to give a lot of people access to tools and to the capabilities of bringing visions or ideas alive like never before. And so I think there's going to be good and bad, and we just kind of got to roll with it and see what happens. Like it's not up to us to decide. Like
Yeah, we're humans. There's a way to exploit. We will do it. And then as a whole, we learn from it. Just like we were talking about monetization. AI, I think, will be like that. There will be some good people that use it very well. There will be some people use it in a less good direction, their own self-interest. There will be. It's up to all of us to actually vote with our money, with our attention to it, which one we want more. So I would say, yeah, at least know about or touch a little bit of AI to know what is it capable and what is it about, rather than just say, oh no, AI stuff I will not touch. At least know about it, and then you might find something very useful for you, for your job, for your line. Helps you to write a little bit faster, helps you color a bit more, helps you to make more variation of what you do. Like one thing that mainly I used for before, let's say some time ago, I use it to generate some pictures on my PowerPoint, for example. I just want something, sometimes you just Google some image on the internet and then you just paste, oh, this one. But AI just help to generate something just to make your PowerPoint come true. Simple stuff like that. Even like you see there's like Canvas, that and LinkedIn, people are generating a lot of simple stuff. You see a lot of people, engaging with 500 people and yes, all these easily readable PowerPoints. No one is going to do it by hand. You look at that one person generating it, he posts every 1 day, every 2 days. You use some sort of AI tool to actually make these kind of presentations. So I think that.
Hey man,
yeah.
Sorry. Go on and finish your thought.
No, just saying it's totally fine. You know, you use AI to actually help enhance you to make slides, to make certain stuff, but also respect the art. You know, when you make art, I would rather, you know, pay for a game that is authentically made by artists. Yeah.
Of course, of course. Look, I think two thoughts on that. The first one is the productivity boost you get from AI. Like if you're looking at an LLM helping you write a support ticket or helping you write a a PRD or product requirements document for those listening to the acronym. I don't like to say acronyms just to say
Yeah.
them, but there are or making a PowerPoint. AI can be incredibly powerful. And if that means that instead of working 5 hours on one thing, you only work 3 hours or 2 hours, then you have those 3 hours that are free. You can either spend that for a better work-life balance, which I think is super valuable in an industry where there's loads of crunch, or you can spend that on other pieces of work that allow you to be more effective during the day. And I think a lot of people are like, I don't want to touch the AI. I don't want to deal with it. It scares me. And like exactly like you say, you should at least know about it. You should at least incorporate some of it. Then there are ethical concerns around who makes the art and whose intellectual property gets used, and like how does this affect I think early stage or entry level kind of roles across companies. I think that will be up to the organizations to really have a proper policy. But just in terms of using things like ChatGPT, it's so liberating. Like, how lucky are we now that we can actually, rather than spending manual effort in trying to write the perfect email or write the perfect presentation and like just spending so much effort, we can now save that time, get like a rough kind of not estimate, but a rough template or structure of what you'd like to write, and then you can edit over it. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that.
Yeah.
Um,
And
we're just
also
lucky we can
like a
save that time.
yeah, and also a buddy to actually bounce off, right? Right now, like I
Yes.
have so much. I've worked many years in games. I know quite a lot of things, but I don't remember every single detail on my fingertips. So I was like, how do I start? Why don't I ask from what I know from my experience? Then you will bounce off. Oh yeah, I know this. I forgot to, you know, I forgot about this. The last time I touched this feature was like 3 years ago. Oh, I did this, you know? So it actually helps you in that way. Just like how back in the day where we need to go to libraries and look at encyclopedia to do our research, and then there come the internet. So you can search a lot of things on the internet quickly. So
Yeah.
now, when you need to call some friend or some colleague and bounce off ideas, you don't always have them everywhere. You have like a personal assistant in a way. Like, how should I start? I'm this. Feed it with certain knowledge. They're like, "Oh, what about this idea or this suggestion?" I'm like, yeah, I know this. I would have said that given me another few hours to think about it, but it actually helps you to make it faster. So that
Yeah.
is also another
Without
way to help to use AI.
without a doubt. Without a doubt. Um, I think we've talked about QA, we've talked about AI, we've talked about kind of your journeys and traveling. I kind of wanted to go on just one last bit, which is, and I think we kind of mentioned this across, but what kind of advice do you have for someone kind of listening in that is interested in games? Maybe they're just getting out of uni. And I think I asked this before, but I think there's always a chance to kind of go through it again. What would you say to someone that's trying to hustle their way in? Like, what would you have them do, or uh, or, or how would you have them apply themselves? What was something that a young Kenny who maybe wants to break in games himself uh, just looked back and thought, I'm so fortunate I did that. That really helped me. What is something like that for you?
Yeah, first I gotta ask that person, and the person gotta ask himself or herself, do you really want this? How much do you really, really like it? This is something, let's say, give a timeline, like 5 years, I'm gonna try to break in games, 10 years. Um, just give it a go and see. People in games, as far as my experience, I would say very high percentage, like 90% of us are quite nice. So ask, reach out. Amir Sadvat, this guy who works for Tencent, he actually helps so many people get jobs. People like that are quite a lot. I mean, he's a bit more special for sure, but a lot of us, like, we are not so vocal, we are not so outreaching. Just ask us anything, any dream job. I don't know, like, maybe just send an email to Hideo Kojima. He might just reply, I don't know, you know. So just shoot your shot in a way and just try. If you love games, you love something deep enough, um, find your way, be persistent in it, and then you won't feel any regret. You will feel more fulfilled. So there's a saying where, in Chinese saying, that is like finding food is difficult. You know, I might be butchering it. So finding food means making a living is difficult. But to me, I've worked so many years in games. I've been persistent in making games. Almost 2 decades now. Was it difficult? Yeah, at times. But if you look back fondly of the whole experience, so it is worth it. I will say it for myself. So just keep going, ask, talk to people, try to reach out, and then you need to actually stay the course and show your sincerity. Not have everything fed to you, but do your homework, ask intelligent and thoughtful questions with research. People will definitely come and help you out. And recently, I've been reaching out, cold call someone from Italy. It's like, hey, how's the industry there? You know, so spoke to her, reached out on LinkedIn, and she gave me a very, not to say long, but very thoughtful message on how things are to paint a picture there, so I get a full picture. So things like that, you know, strangers from another country. It's like, hey, how is it working in Thailand? How is it working in Kazakhstan? People try to reach out. If they don't reach out, fine, just move on. So if the people reach out, they will actually give you good advice. So ask yourself, you really want to do it? Try to reach out to the people in the community. You know, people like Alexandra is super nice. When I start talk to you, we kind of hit it off straight away. People like that are willing to. That's why he's doing this for you guys.